Hi, everybody. Welcome to Busy Living Sober with Elizabeth Chance, the Elizabeth Chance podcast, Busy Living Sober. House cleaning. I got to do house cleaning. So, house cleaning for number one for today is that I want to let everybody know that I'm back to Busy Living Sober. And I've changed the name back to Busy Living Sober. And now it's just Busy Living Sober with host Elizabeth Chance. It makes it easier. I've been around long enough that I need to go back to how it was working. So going forward, you're going to find me on all different places back at Busy Living Sober. I hope everybody's happy with that. By the way, if you like the podcast, please subscribe. Please tell your friends. Please share it with anybody that you will find it relevant in their lives, because Busy Living Sober is about finding serenity, right? Serene. Sober means, if you look in the dictionary, serene. So I'm all about serene. And now that I'm, an international health and wellness coach on top of being a recovery coach, I'm like, I've got more to talk about and more people that I can help. And for that, I'm very excited and so blessed to be able to share that with you all. Number two, house cleaning is that we are on episode 344. Our topic today is adjusting. And I also want to say welcome to my husband, John Fagley, who came on today. And thanks everybody who wrote to me last week to tell me that you like to hear guests every once in a while. So I thought, why not just go and ask my husband, because I know people love it when he comes on anyway. Thanks, honey, for coming on.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
I'm so glad he's here, because we talk about adjustment, and my new favorite saying, well, it's been my favorite saying for a long time, and I have it in my house on an actual painting. And I also have this card, and what it says is that you cannot change the direction of the wind, but you can adjust your sails. And I am not a sailor. I was married to a sailor once in my life, and I've been on sailboats, but I'm not a sailor. But do you relate to that? Like, you fight against the wind. We're going to go into that more in depth after I do this. We've got to do a little thank you to SoberLink. So, as a Busy Living Sober listener, you know that my mission is to eliminate the shame associated with addiction through open and honest communication. So how does one do that? Well, SoberLink is a remote alcohol monitoring system that allows you to rebuild trust by sharing your recovery with your support network in real time. As a monitor client, you'll have 2 to 3 opportunities a day to prove your sobriety to loved ones through a series of scheduled tests. Once you test, your identity is confirmed and your results are sent instantly to everyone in your support network, making it easier to rebuild trust and improve communication over time. To learn more about SoberLink, download the resource guide, Tips for Keeping Busy Living Sober, or to request a $50 promo code. Visit www.soberlink.com/BLS and you'll get a $50 off your subscription. Thanks again, SoberLink.
Sorry, I had to disappear for a second.
He had to run he had to go cough, I think.
I did.
He had to cough. Are you feeling better?
I am.
Okay, good.
Thank goodness.
It sounds like you have a frog in your throat.
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh my gosh, maybe you should have a little drink.
I'm good.
Okay, you're good. You ready to adjust your sails?
I am. And I think it's so cool that you read that, because I think I heard that every day of my life or not every day, 5 days a week for like about 5 years of my life. When I first got sober, there was an older gentleman at the meeting I went to at lunchtime every day, and he said that every time that he shared, that was his little bit of wisdom, that, he would adjust his sails. And I was like, what the hell is he talking about? I had no idea at the time. It took a long time to figure it out, wow, like that, if things are coming at me, that I can change me instead of trying to change the things all the time. And, I never knew that for the longest time. I always thought that, I'm just going to change the wind. I'm going to make it blow the way I want it to blow, whatever it takes, because I want it at my back, and what I found is that I've been sober for a pretty long time, and the wind has just in my life has just sort of come around, and it's just sort of turned into a gale force wind in my face, and I got tired of fighting it, and at some point I finally was like, oh my gosh, like maybe I need to adjust my sales, like maybe I need to do something different instead of trying to make everything else do something different, you know, trying to make it all be the way I want it to be.
And I think that that takes so much courage. And I think that people that listen to this podcast and probably other podcasts are in their lives dealing with things that they're like, oh my gosh, I need to adjust my sales. I feel like for me, and I'm just going to tell a story about myself where I had to adjust my, I have, I feel like as human beings, the hardest thing, especially, I don't know if it's just for alcoholics, because I think everybody has this problem, is with relationships. Relationships tend to be hard, right? Because we're with other people have other expectations. Family members have different ideas of how things went in our lives that were different than the way you thought that they were. And you're like, I saw it this way. And then your sibling could say, I didn't see that at all. And you're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? I was there and you saw that and you saw, and how we perceive things is all different. So it's getting to this place where we're like, okay, if I'm fighting this wind and I feel uncomfortable, what am I going to do to change?
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to adjust what I'm doing so that I feel more comfortable in my own skin?
And I guess the first thing that has to happen is you have to have that thought like, oh, wait, I can change. I can adjust. That's the first thing that has to happen. For people like me, it takes a long time for even for that part to happen.
To realize that that you want to change.
To realize that I can, yeah. Or that's what needs to happen. You know, it's not everything and everyone else that needs to change. It's actually me. And the thing about it, when I think about it, when I do think about it, I'm like, well, that's really empowering, you know, because it means I can actually do something about the situation. Um, you know, I may have thought that I could do something about the situation for a long time, but it becomes apparent that I can't, you know, no matter what I do, people, things, events are not going to happen the way I want them to, right? Um, and the only thing that I can change is me, which is usually my last thought.
But isn't it interesting that one thing you just said, which I find to be interesting, is that you said you want things to be a certain way. And I think sometimes going about life, wanting things at the end of the day, you want to be happy, you want to be comfortable, you want to be able to sleep at night. But if we don't have expectations of how we want things to be, right? We obviously have expectations, but having expectations of other human beings, and instead of taking people for face value and not wishing that they were different. I spent so much time in my life wishing that my past was different, wishing that relationships in my life were different, wishing that I could. I'm just going to just talk about alcohol because it's relevant to this.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that I could process alcohol like a normal person, which I don't even know what that means, because normal to me is white bread, Wonder Bread. It all looks the exact same. And I don't know any human being that's the exact same Wonder Bread. So having this ability to be able to look and say, you know what, I have to be able to handle all these situations and take them for what they are at face value and not wish that they were different.
Well, that's true. And, it's so interesting because it's obviously human nature to want to have things the way you want to have them, because if I were really a spiritual giant, and I was like, to me, that would be like, I'd be like a Buddhist monk living somewhere, but, then I could just say, well, it's everything. Well, it's just God's will. It's just God's will. It's just God's will. Like nothing would bother me because, I'd finally be down with that. I'd be okay with that. But I'm a human being. So it's hard. And it's not so hard that I want this or I want that. I have other people in my life and, I want things for them. I sense like this person has an expectation of me that I'm going to do whatever. So I don't want to let them down. I got to try to meet their expectation. It's just, it's like it's very easy for me anyway to get lost in the forest, as far as that goes. And and I feel like, well, gee, like that Buddhist monk that I was talking about, somehow they're able to just step back and like they're not lost in the forest because they're just looking at the entire forest and say, there it is. Like I said, it's like it's God's will. It's whatever, and it's fate. It's this, it's that, and it's the truth. That's really the truth. But that is, it's just not. It's not an easy thing for every human that I know, whether they're. It doesn't matter. Like you said, it doesn't matter if they're an addict or not. Every human I know has the same struggle with that. We're like, we know that it's God's will, that the world is God's will. We know that. But yet we just, we fight against that all the time, all day long. It's just, I don't know what it is. I think it's just a human, it's a human thing. I mean, God gave us free will for a reason, obviously. And it wasn't just to drive us crazy, I'm sure. Well, I'll probably know the answer when I'm in heaven. Mm-hmm.
But getting to this place where you realize that you're fighting the wind is blowing in your face, you feel like nothing's going your way, and you think it's going to stay like that forever. And it can stay like that for a long time if you're not willing to do certain things, like, for instance, talk to somebody. Right.
Sure.
But our ego makes it hard for us to talk to people about what's really going on, because we're afraid of judgment, of being persecuted, by being looked at differently, by being vulnerable.
That's really what it is about being vulnerable. I think that's really what it really is. It's like, I can't be vulnerable to another person.
And why do you think that is?
It's just, I mean, a lot of it is just like, it's just ingrained in me the way I was raised. I mean, I was raised like, if you're a male, I am a male, we don't, the only feelings that we express really are, anger. All our feelings, those are for women. Like, we don't do that, and we take care of our own problems. We don't need help. We don't ask for help. And it's just, we're stoic, and that's what we do. But I realize, like, to me, I really like, I've come to realize, like, stoic is just sort of another word for, victim. It really is. It's not a good thing. So it's hard to, it's just, you got to get past that. I have to get past that. I have to say that was incorrect, what I was taught, and it's okay for me to have other feelings besides being angry, and I can share about that and tell somebody about it, if I'm sad, if I'm scared, if I'm confused, but it's like all these things that, we just never, we were taught, you just would never admit that to another. I would never admit to another person, I don't know. That's the bottom line. Never admit that.
No, because that shows weakness.
Exactly.
And what man wants to be weak? They all want to be strong.
That's right. Exactly.
Instead of being, oh, I don't know.
And all men inside are the same.
I guess today
right?
they're not.
They don't know.
Today they're not.
Well, I'll say,
Budweiser thing, but I'm not going to go into it. But like, oh my God.
I mean, I guess kids are different. I mean, our kids talk a lot more about their feelings than I guarantee you that their fathers did. And like I know my grandfather, that like they would never talk about anything like that. They'd probably throw you out of the house if you brought it up.
And even your dad.
Yeah, he was tough. He wouldn't throw you out of the house, but he'd say, you don't do that.
So and so now when you're adjusting your sales and you're having to go and say, you know what, I'm doing something in my life I don't like and I want to change. Let's even talk about a diet, for instance, like I can get crazy about what I mean, luckily lately since doing this course and getting certified as a wellness coach, I'm realizing that the whole thing of like putting like saying, oh, I'm not going to have this, I'm not going to have that. I need to just be open to having everything just in moderation. And that's something that's like an adjustment in my sales this week. It just happened this week. It just happened the other day because I have a coach, because I think I can't help coach others if I don't have a coach. So my coach I spoke to the other day and was telling her about my feelings that I have about like, I can't eat this, I can't do this, I feel bad if I do that. And she's like, you can't do that. You can't sit there and hate yourself for eating chocolate. Love chocolate ever since, well, I've loved chocolate my whole life. But recently I've been eating more chocolate. When I was in Europe, the chocolate's really good. And I brought some back with me and I've been eating it and eating it and eating it. And I love chocolate covered nuts. And she's like, that's not bad for you. I don't eat like cake that much or cookies, but I definitely eat chocolate. I love it.
Well, I guess the bottom line is, it's like you said, you have the, like, you feel like you're being a bad person when you're eating the chocolate.
So
But why don't you talk to those people for a minute? I hear somebody at our door. I'll be right back.
Our dog is scratching at the door, so he's going to go let her in. But having the adjustment of realizing you want to change, there's this new book called Atomic Habits. And I saw a lot of people reading that book when I was traveling the other day. And it talks about how when you changing habits can really change your whole life. If you change one little habit, it can change your whole life. Have you gotten into that recently, changing a habit?
I'm trying to change some habits of mine, but habits are not easy to change. I mean, it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort.
What's a habit you're trying to change?
I want to get up earlier. I want to get my day started earlier. And, but I still need to work on it. Because what I found is that I can get up earlier but still my day doesn't start earlier.
What do you mean it doesn't start earlier?
That I seem to, the extra hour and a half, I just fill it up with other stuff and I'm still like rushed for time when I don't want to be. So, but the important part is like, I can get up earlier. All I need to do is set my alarm clock and, and I can do it. So, and it's funny. It's like, things that used to be a habit. Like I would like to get back on the exercise habit. And I've not been on that since COVID. And it's been a long time since COVID, and I keep trying to get started and I just can't do it. And it's hard, and I want to, I really do. I just always find a reason why I can't.
It's hard. It's hard. I just started. I've been doing 4 miles every other day. And by the end of the day, I'm so tired. By 2:30, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I've changed this habit. And and not only that, am I tired? I'm hungry. I'm like, I just want to eat. I just want to eat. I just want to eat. And it just stinks because you're like, I just started this new habit and now I'm eating more.
Well, I can tell you that the more you exercise, the more you're going to eat. That's just makes sense. But anyway, getting back to change and, so I just found that, certain things happen in my life that, it's just been going on for a long time. And I've been fighting it and fighting it and fighting it and fighting it. And, but the simple answer is, I don't need to fight it. I really need to adjust my sales. And, we're lucky that we have a 12-step program of action. That's like a sale reset when you do it, and we're lucky that we have that. It's written out. It's not confusing. It's not difficult. It's not hard. It's just something that you just do. And you can effectively change your sales easily. But what's the word that you have to be willing? That's it. Got to be willing.
And I know some people think it's so hard to be willing. It's like, I can't do it. It's too hard. I can't do it. It's too hard. I can't do it. It's too hard. And realizing that it's not, if you put your mind to it and you just walk towards that fear. I had something big this week. And it got me, and I'm not a person that normally I would describe as being anxious, but I got very anxious ridden. And is that a good way to say it? I guess is anxious ridden. I don't know.
Anxiety ridden.
Anxiety ridden. I guess
because
because I'm never really at that. I didn't grow up with that. So having anxiety over this conversation I was going to have with somebody, and I was so nervous and I was so anxious, and I realized that afterwards I realized I'd spent so much time worried about the outcome of this conversation that I was going to have. I was trying to think of what they were going to say, what I was going to say. I was taking myself forward into this place, and it was for almost 24 hours, and it was so uncomfortable because I was just like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And one of my other coaches said to me, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. You don't even have to do it if you don't want to. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't do it. Maybe I'll just say, forget it. I'm not going to do this call anymore. I'm just not doing it. I don't know if anybody can relate to that. You're like, you made a commitment to have a conversation or meet someone, and you're just like, I don't want to do it. I'm just going to say I'm not doing it. But then I realized that I had to do it. I had to walk through this. I had to walk through this fear. And when it was over, I felt so much better, because you just get this feeling like, what is it going to be like? Like these crazy things that go on in your head, at least for me. And I was like, oh my gosh. And none of it happened. It was way better than I could ever imagine. And I encourage you, if you're out there, to just walk through that scariness. I think when we were little, we'd be scared of the dark, right? And you'd say, Mom, come in. I can't be, there's darkness in here. I can't do it. And your mom would come in and say, it's going to be okay. Or your dad, whatever, or both your moms or whatever it is. And say or both your dads, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And it was okay. And I'm telling you, it's okay. I know it's scary and you don't want to do it, but after you do it, you feel so much better.
Well, it's funny that as you were talking, I was thinking about this person that I know really well. In fact, I'm married to her, and she says all the time, if you do this, are things going to be worse than they already are? If the worst happens, are they going to be worse than they already are? And the answer, like 99.9% of the time, is no, they're not. So then just do it, because they can only be better. It can't be any worse than it already is. And you said that so many times, but it's still like, it's easy to lose sight of that
at all times.
Because we get caught up. We just get, like you said, you get caught up in your mind of like I'm going to say this and they're going to say that, and then this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And it's like, I know what's going to happen. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't know anything, and that once again, that's like, I'm losing touch with God's will. If I knew, if I was
in the direction of the wind, because it comes to you.
And I say, if I knew so much, I would have had the winning Powerball ticket, 2 weeks ago. But I don't know anything. I have no idea what's going to happen.
None of us know what's going to happen, but we let this win, and we think that because all these bad things are happening and everything's going to be bad, it's not going to be bad forever. I promise you, if you get into action, things will change. It's making those little changes, like that atomic habits. It's like just going out, instead of going out that door that you go out every day, which takes you down to the right, you go out that door and it'll take you to the left. And you'll get a whole different set of, you'll see different things.
Mm-hmm.
Your whole life can change just by going out a different way. It's crazy. I have these habits, like I learned when I was getting sober, prayer meditation is a big part of the 12-step program. And I was like, I can't meditate. That's too, I'm not going to be able to sit there and have these feelings go on in my head and be able to sit there and just go, and be quiet. And that's not how you meditate anyway. But that's how I thought you did. But of course, I had to take a class to learn how to teach meditation and realize that that's not how it is. And now I have to I have to meditate, I have to pray, I have to light a candle every morning. I have to write every day. And I if I start off my day thinking, for one, saying thank you. Thank you for this day. Because
Mhm.
so many people didn't wake up today. So many people did not wake up today. So thank you for this day. And if I start my day going, I'm going to have a great day, even if I know there's a lot of hurdles in that day that I have to get past, even though I know that it's going to be a challenging day, if I have that attitude myself, I can change anything.
Mhm. Well, like you said, it's all perspective, right? So if my perspective is today's going to be a great day, it's going to be a great day. You know, my perspective is going to be a terrible day. Guess what?
It's a terrible day.
Yeah.
And so, and we can will these things. There's a lot of stuff in the internet today about manifesting. What are you going to manifest? Are you going to manifest positivity or are you going to manifest negativity?
Mhm.
So, which way are you going to do it today? And that's up to you.
Totally.
And I can say that when you aren't taking drugs and you're not, I mean, obviously not drugs that your doctor prescribes, obviously those you can take, but like mind altering substances or alcohol that changes you, that gives you no choices. All choices are gone because you're not functioning as like on the right playing field, correct? You know?
Mhm.
So if you're sober, you can at least make a choice.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You can, and I like how you say that you start every morning saying thank you. You know, because not everybody woke up, and a lot of people who woke up didn't wake up, you know, in a house that was air conditioned or heated, that had food in the refrigerator, that had water and pipes and electricity and wires.
Like,
You know, all the stuff we take for granted in America, we
right.
just take it for granted.
Like I went to the light switch and the light turned on. That's like huge.
Yeah. Do you ever think about it? No.
No,
Never.
unless it's not working
Yeah.
or the
Exactly.
light bulb went out. Then you're
Yeah.
just like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
Mhm.
So having this ability to adjust when anything's going on takes practice.
Definitely takes practice. It's definitely, like I said, it's not my first thought is not, gee, I should change. You know, my first thought is, gee, that person needs to change. And you know, but the reality is, like, when I get down to brass tacks, the fact that you know, that I need to change is empowering, because it means that it's possible to change the circumstances that I'm in. You know, if I always have to change somebody else or something else that I can't do because I'm powerless over everything and everyone around me, you know, there's no hope.
We need hope.
What's hope's easy to find.
Yeah.
It's easy to find. You know, it's very easy to find.
Especially if you're sober. Now, if you're drinking all the time, please do not quit drinking without speaking to your doctor. Always talk to your doctor before making any health changes, because things can happen if you don't talk to the doctor first. So adjusting your sales and reaching out to somebody who can help you is a big thing.
Mhm.
And that can be a friend. That can be a friend. It can be your wife. It can be your husband. It can be your sister. It can be your brother. It can be your cousin. It can be your aunt. It can be your uncle. I could go on ad nauseum. But
Sure, it could be the guy that sits next to you at work.
yeah,
Mhm.
if you're willing to get to that place of vulnerability and courage to be able to talk about what's really bothering you on your heart, that helps to be able to find that person. But we have to get to this place where we feel like, all right, I'm going to be vulnerable, and I pray this person takes me for what can communicate with me. And I can tell you, I've met many people in my life that do not want to go deep, do not share with me. And I kind of don't really hang out with them anymore, because I don't want to have just conversation about my jeans and what kind of jeans I'm wearing and what the weather's doing. I just don't want to do that anymore,
Mhm.
you know?
I know that about
And
you.
having healthy relationships is what this life is all about, and helping other people and realizing you're not in this alone.
Right. And you're not, and also realizing, I think, that, you know, you're not here on this planet just to entertain yourself.
No, you're there to help others.
Absolutely.
And if you feel stuck,
Mhm.
like you're the wind's coming towards you, just reach out and talk to somebody and say, okay, this is what I'm going through. Do you have an ear for me? Can you listen? And you might want to not give every detail, which is totally fine. Just get off enough, get enough off the fat of that soup. I tell people all the time, like I relate things to soup. And even though I haven't made soup in a long time because I live in Florida, but I do like to make cold soup too.
Mhm.
But either way, you make soup and you put it in the refrigerator to cool it after you've made it because you want to get all the fat off.
Right.
And if you just want to take the fat off and not get too detail oriented with like the thyme and the rosemary and the chicken or whatever's in your soup, you could just get to the fat and just say, I just got to get rid of this. I'm not going to go so deep, but I'm not going to carry this anymore because I want to share it with somebody else. And then that makes you feel better.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you can do it a layer at a time.
One layer at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I have a good friend who always says that a trouble shared is halved. And a joy shared is doubled.
Isn't that wonderful?
Mm-hmm. And he's so right.
Share your stuff with somebody. That's all I want to tell you. Share your stuff with somebody. I don't know if I mentioned we did a recording. We were re-recording, but we were listening to Brooke Shields on she has a new show on Hulu, and not to give anything away, but she talks about her mother's alcoholism. And I wanted to say she's got so much courage to come out here and tell us what she was dealing with having her own alcoholic mother, and her getting to this place where she's like, I'm going to actually go out in public and I'm going to tell people what I endured as a child and having a mother that was an active alcoholic and where that took her.
Mm-hmm.
And we all get to that place where we need to it's like, it's kind of funny. If you let people know what's going on with you and you share it, the light comes in, the freedom comes in. It's the darkness when we keep it to ourselves.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
It's like, bring the light in, get to this place where you're like, I'm going to be free. I'm going to be willing to talk to somebody. You can always reach me at Elizabeth@elizabethchance.com. That's very easy. ELIZABETH at ELIZABETH Chance, CHANCE.com. So thanks so much for coming on.
Sure. And don't forget to reach out. You can have your trouble.
You can have your trouble. You can bring some light into your life. Adjust your sails today because the wind's not going to change. You have to change.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, next Monday, I'm airing an interview my friend in Amsterdam did with me. It's going to be on YouTube. So look for the link. I'll be talking about it on all social media, but you get to hear my story firsthand from Amsterdam, which we did about a month ago. Not even like 3 weeks ago. Crazy. Exciting. Life is just going so fast, don't you think? Well, thanks for listening. And please come back next week. And please subscribe if you like it and share it with all your friends. I hope. Mwah. Sending lots of love. Thanks again, everybody, for coming, listening, for spending your time with me for the past half an hour, and JF for coming on. I really appreciate it. Take care, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.